I have titled this one Principles of Partnership, Principles of Partnership, because it's always very important for us to understand partnership before we get into one. Many of us have gotten into some partnerships that we thought was a partnership, but we didn't know that we were recruited for someone else's cause. And so I don't know how many of you who have been involved in a business or an organization where someone calls you and say, oh, let us do this thing together, or let us, it can even be in the name of the Lord. Let us build for the Lord, or let us create this for the Lord, or let us create this for humanity. Let us change humanity, and you gave your all, you gave your, because nothing was signed, nothing was documented. You gave your all, you gave your resources, and after a while, it began to look like, the person that called you together suddenly became unreachable, untouchable, became the Lord of all. It now became someone you couldn't question. And after a while, you just realize that you are just a floor member and nothing more, because the person assumed full authorities, maybe with his families and courts and whatever, and you feel very bitter because you feel you wasted your resources and you wasted your life and you wasted your time. If you have been involved in those kind of ventures before, can you type "I" in the comment box? Let me be sure that I have the right people in the building. I have been, right? So I can easily type "I." Okay. So let me see the chat box. Yeah, so it looks like, Yalaji, I know you'll be there, right? And so you can see many people are typing "I," and it can be very painful. I was going for a surprise birthday party yesterday, and my sister came to the house, and we were going together, and we were having the same conversation. And she said to me, she said, "Praise, I wasted 20 years of my life, building what doesn't exist for me." I said, if I devoted that year to building myself, said I would be way, way, way ahead. And she was telling me that thank God she took her life in her hands 4 years ago and decided to create a new pathway. Said, if not, she would never have been able to pay for her son's school, in North America. And we just went on and talking and say that, it's because we often trust the wrong set of people. And as Africans, we trust easily, which is a strength, is also a weakness in the sense that we don't now put the right framework because we just believe that someone is going to take care of our interests. One of the things I love about the US military is the fact that the US military makes it clear. Once you are in the army or you're in the National Guard or anything, right? Number one, in 3 months, you're a citizen once you pass the exam. Number two is the fact that if you die in the course of duty, I think $500,000 is first sent to your family, and then your children are on scholarship, all through their education. I'm not sure your family will pay tax or something. Even if you're in the military, you don't pay tax. All the things you want to buy a house, down payment that we do, they don't do any of those things, right? And then you can go to any school of your choice, and the US government is going to sponsor you and stuff like that, right? And so you see them giving their all because they know if they die, their families are well taken care of. I don't know how Nigerian soldiers feel hearing this, how many people have died in the line of duty in Nigeria, and their families, nobody cares about them. Nobody receives anything, So you realize that a lot of people are giving their lives to what they don't even understand. And my sister made a valid point yesterday. She said to me, Pierre, let's be grateful that we are no longer in that cycle. She said some people are still repeating the same mistakes we made many years ago, and they are still giving their all and hoping that someone is going to take care of them without anything documented, without any contract signed, because they just trust. And so I said to them, I said, sometimes I see these people and I feel like getting into that audience and using, Koboko to wipe all of them and beat sense into their head. And I said, but they are not going to listen, right, until they make their own mistake. I always have learned that there are two ways to learn. You either learn from other people's mistakes, or you become the example that people are going to learn from. And I hope that it's never too late, So you need to understand. I mean, I love the Nigerian slogan that no grief for anybody this year, right? Even though you can't, don't go home and say no grief for your husband, not grief for your wife or something. You crash your relationship, right? However, I think it's instructive to say do your due diligence. Now, partnerships is very, very critical when it's well done. And as Africans, is one of the core things we must learn to do, right? We must normalize it and protect ourselves. As a matter of fact, we can build a partnership that secures our future together if nobody gets greedy. And that was why we intentionally played a video of Bashorun Gaa, right? Because that was a classic case of a guy who was supposed to be in partnership with a system, but something entered him, like I always say, and the devil entered Judas, and he decided, the guy he wanted to move from his position to become the king. And that was why he made many kings commit suicide, killed a lot of people, eventually destroyed what was an amazing empire. And what that is saying to us is that the moment self-interest overshadows corporate interest, then the kingdom is going to collapse or implode. And you can see that. I mean, during the week, I wrote about the real estate industry in Nigeria and how scammers have taken over that industry. I'm sure you remember many of their adverts, how, every land in Lagos is beside Dangote refinery. Now the refinery is working. I don't even know how people use the refinery to market a land. I can't understand it, because human beings should not even reside very close to a refinery, right? Because of the pollution and all. But people were, it just tells you how illiterate, how bad our educational system is, that nobody could question this guy, he's going to appreciate, Dangote, every land, even Ore, is close to Dangote refinery in Nigeria right now. So by the time you say, take me to the land, you just be traveling inside. And please, I love land banking, and I love to do land banking. Our consultant is there, I listen a lot to her. But I always say to people that, when they tell you that forest is going to become city, it's not every forest that is going to become a city. Some forests have been, Igbo Olodumare since our parents were born. Now we have become adults and we are growing older. They are still forests, right? In our students' time, it's still likely going to be a forest. So be careful the kind of forest you are buying, all right? And so I was saying that industry, needs a lot of trust. It's very low on trust deficit, on trust issues. And, Dayton, who heads our investment, is someone who is heavy on trust. To say that people have given, I've met people in America who have given money and then there's no land to show. And it's simply because many of the CEOs in the real estate sector, they want to live now. Maybe many of them have experienced poverty, and all of a sudden they are looking at their account and they can see 10 billion, other people's money, and suddenly begin to fly business class on investors' money. Begin to do this, begin to live a life that is larger than what they are able to sustain. And before you know it, they are back to square one, no land to show, nothing to show, money is gone, right? And so it is very important that before you put your money in anything, you want to check the people on the board, you want to see their track record and all those kind of things. Very, very important. Now, I'm going to start today by illustrating how powerful partnership is. Everybody knows this guy. His name is Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is the world record holder in 100 meters. At the Berlin 2009 World Championship, Bolt set a world record of 9.58 seconds for the 100 meters race sprint, notching a top speed of 27.8 miles per hour. This guy is superhuman. In fact, they say that it could be faster than a bullet, right? This guy created a mark nobody has ever reached. Once upon a time, nobody thought anybody could go under 10 seconds. But then the moment someone broke the record, that same year, about 30 people broke the same record. But this guy took the record to an all-time low that has never been seen before. And so, since he retired, nobody had gotten close to this record. But let me show you another record Bolt set, but this time around with a team. So as long as he ran alone, he clocked 9.58 seconds. But then Bolt went ahead to run the relay race with a team of 4. It was in that team, it was the person that took the last leg. The men's 4x100 relay world record also, I mean, they smashed the record, Jamaican team. They hit 36.84 seconds, right? So which means one person was 9.58 seconds. The 4 people did 36.84 seconds. It was said by the Jamaican team at the 2012 London Olympic Games. Now, here is the mystery, right? Follow me. As long as he ran alone, he was doing 9.58 seconds. But because 400 meters is 4 tranches of 100 meters. When they ran as a group, if you divide their time by their numbers, they actually, each person, and that's assuming that they all ran at the same speed. Of course, we know that but there is somebody in that team, or all the 4 of them, they were running at 9.21 seconds. I know there are other factors like, okay, they were not bending down to do on your marks, but the batting exchange could have made them lose some point. And also they were not running straight, so they were running. But if you understand sport, you realize that it's actually, easier for some people to run straight than for them to run at a bend. But here is the deal. As long as he ran alone, it was 9.58. When he ran in a group, he was doing 9.21 seconds. So what it means is there is a possibility that this 9.58 that everyone is shouting about could actually be lowered by Usain Bolt or someone in that team, right? And so the moral of this story is that when you go alone, you are all by yourself. When you go with a group, you can multiply your impact. When you get the right partnerships, you can actually build something incredible that has never been done before. And that is why we say that there are 2 levels of power. You have the horsepower and you have the horsepower. Now, when you want to go very fast, you take the horsepower, H-O-R-S-E. You run very fast, but you're going to tire out. But when you want to go very far, you take the horsepower, because the power that created the universe is the horsepower. God said, let us make man in our image, right? And so if the power that made man is the power of collaboration, is the power of partnerships, then you cannot afford to stay alone. I was having a consulting session with a real estate firm. Their CEO came over to see me last week. And so I was saying to her about structuring a business and how to get people on the board. And she said something to me. She said, PF, I would love to do all these things, but I cannot pay them right now based on my influence. And I said, you know what? You don't need to pay. You all guys are always thinking about money, right? There are people who don't need the money. They don't mind. It's an honor for them to sit on your board. I said, you have them in your life. You have just not asked them. You can go and meet them and say, see, I want to run this business properly. I want to build trust and capacity, and I need your help. I need your expertise. I need your competence. I listed the expertise you might need. And I said, say to them, I may not be able to pay you for now. But as the business begins to make profit, we will earmark a 10% or 20% to be shared by the board members. I said, with that, you will get them for free, right? But make sure you fulfill your obligation. And I said, some of them will even tell you, hey, you don't have to pay, right? Just let's do this thing, right? And they will give their time to you. And she was like, I never thought about it this way. So a lot of us, we do not want to get into partnerships because we think, oh, I don't have money to pay this person. It's a partnership. If we rise together. If we fall, so be it, right? And so you need to understand that Africans are wired to go solo. It's not your fault. You were born into going solo. You were not born into partnerships. You look at the way you went to school. From your primary school, partnership has been totally destroyed from you. In fact, you will hear them during the exam, don't do partnership, or we don't need collaboration. You also go alone. Why are they saying go alone? Because they need to determine the first position. Usain Bolt, first position in 100 meters. But all the people that did the 4 by 100, they were also first. So it means 4 people can be first position, and all of them can enjoy the benefit, and they can actually have better results together. So primary school, First position separated you from your friend. Secondary school, first position separated you. University, you want first class, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you've gone solo all your life. You go to the religious places, the prayers we pray are not collaborative. As a matter of fact, the summary of our prayer is someone needs to fall for you to rise. Someone's own need to be destroyed for your own to be better, right? Your friends needs to go poor for you to become rich so that you can feed them. Those are the kind of prayer points we are sharing. So you are being rigged not to collaborate. You are being rigged to everywhere you turn, where in your growing up days, you are being rigged to go solo. You consistently look for enemies around you, enemies within you, enemies everywhere you go, that your capacity, even though you wish to get into this collaboration, your trust has been betrayed. You have been groomed over time, over and over. A boyfriend has betrayed you, a husband has betrayed you, a wife has betrayed you, that your capacity for trust has gone very low. Once your trust level goes very low, you become suspicious of everyone because everyone is a suspect. And there is nothing wrong with that. However, the only problem is that you'll be doing everything by yourself, going everywhere by yourself. So you are operating by HORSE power and not horsepower. You can't function in a group because you are perpetually thinking that people are going to swindle you. Unknown to you, you are generating energy that will attract that kind of reality into your life. Now, look at some of these guys, right? Microsoft, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, it was a partnership, right? Of course, they fell apart and went their separate ways when values was no longer aligning. Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, right? They came together and see what they've done. I'm not sure they would have been able to do that individually. Look at Apple, established by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniacki, and Ronald Wayne. Ronald Wayne is not even known by many people, but it was part of the partnership that founded Apple. Of course, they also went their separate ways because at some point they couldn't really agree, and because some things were not properly defined when they were coming together. But we can learn from their history. Hewlett-Packard, HP, you use HP, laptops, but many of you did not know that HP is actually Bill Hewlett and David Packard, two individuals who came together, and see what they have built. See how many of us use HP and how many of yours are using Apple laptops, Mac, and all those kind of things. What partnerships could produce. So I dare say that, what partnerships cannot create does not exist, right? I know that you guys say what God cannot do does not exist. What partnerships cannot create does not exist. That's what I'll say to you. Because the power that made some of the most important things in the world is the horsepower. You and I coming together, stating what we want to do, and going ahead to create it. I have always lived by the mantra that says, I would rather own 1% in what will go global than own 100% of what is destined to die local, right? That many of us are building a dream, building a business. You know that if you drop dead, that's the end of the business. The business is not going to go anywhere because you have not brought in people to be a partaker of the business. There are no partnerships around you who are working with you to build something that can go global. Now, it's not as if you cannot go very far. It's just that there is a self-sabotaging fear within you that has held you bound and kept you small. So we all need to begin to understand that as Africans, this is natural with us. It is not natural for us to partner because we are being rigged not to partner. However, we can't go very far unless we come together and begin to partner together. So today, I'm going to just share about 5 principles of partnerships that you want to understand if you're going to partner successfully. Number 1 principle is the principle of aligned vision and goals. That principle says the partners must share a common vision and objectives because unequal yoke will create crisis, divergent paths, and conflict. Now, I know many of us quote that scripture, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Now, and you have heard me say it, an unbeliever is not Muslim or Christian or any of these things. No, an unbeliever is simply defined as someone who does not believe your belief. You believe in prudence, building for the long haul. You have someone you are bringing in who believes in lao, spend it now. Let's go abroad. Let's travel. Let's show the people. Let's snap ourselves. Let me say this carefully. Every time anybody comes around me and I'm meeting you for the first time and we are having conversation and you start talking about, I fly business class, I fly first class, I know immediately you are poor in your mindset, and I know that you are trying to work on my mind to upsell me into something. Because I have been around the truly rich people, right? They don't talk, I fly business class, I know this person, I know that person. No, they don't. They don't, right? And so I always tell people that if you go on, to a meeting that is full of Bill Gates and Elon Musk and these guys, and they gave you 1 hour to address them, what are you going to be talking about? I came here flying business class. I came here flying my private jet. So you see all sorts of that on social media, right? Guys who should not even be flying private jet, guys who, based on the books of their company, right? And because it's a partnership, but they have arrogated the money to themselves, thinking that they own the money because they have an instinct to perpetually flaunt something and show that, this is how I'm living and things like that. Right. So principle of aligned vision says that you must be equal yoke. That for you to partner with someone, if you say you want to go long term, I want to build wealth for the next 10 years, but there is someone you are moving with who says, oh, you know what? I want 60% return every month. And if it's too good to be true, most probably you're going to be swindled, right? That is unequal yoke. Or you say, you know what? Let us prioritize our investors, right? We will have return on investment. We will make profit. We can live on what is due to us from the profit. And the person say, you know what? No. Let us do this. Those guys, don't worry. We are not the first to owe people. We will buy the latest cars. That's unequal yoke. So someone who doesn't believe what you believe is unequal yoke. Don't yoke yourself with those kind of people, because that is the beginning of failure once there is unequal yoke. So you want to create a compelling vision statement with clear milestones and accountability systems to say, this is what we're going to achieve in year one. And we're going to have a meeting where we're going to do full disclosure of this and this and this and this and this. This is how we're going to audit the account, right? So that everybody can have a copy. Do you know that based on the charter that founded not-for-profits in Nigeria, every not-for-profit, you are supposed to be able to have access to their audited account annually on their website. That's what the law says, right? And that includes faith-based community, churches and mosques, right? I don't know how many you can actually download their final account to be able to check yourself. So you realize that, and why they do that is because this money is given on trust. And so the public have a right to know how it's been spent. So you need to create a compelling vision statement with clear milestones and accountability system. There are many organizations, I can't put my money simply because I know what they call a vision is not a vision. It's just a statement on paper that a consultant has put together. Because you can do a simple test of vision by placing the vision against their values, by placing the values against their framework to know if they really mean what they say their vision is all about, or if they are just playing to the gallery. So without an aligned vision, partnership becomes troublesome. Number two is the principle of clear communication. It's not enough to have a clear vision in partnerships. Whatever partners you want to get into, there has to be clear communication line, right? We say communication is a bedrock of partnership because without a regular, transparent communication, partners will drift apart, and self-interest will override good group interest. And so what that means is, if we're getting into partnership, right? So let's say I want to put my money in an investment. You said, oh, bring money, do share capital. We put money in this investment. We must be able to have, why do companies have an general meeting, even though they don't invite some of us who have put money in there, or the notice we arrived late when the meeting has already been done? Why do we have annual general meeting? Is to render account to be sure that, okay, we're still in order. The bad thing is that many of us, our perspective about investment is, let me just give you my money, be giving me a return. I don't have to be involved. That's why you are swindled easily. Bible says that where your treasure is, that's where your heart should be. How dare you give somebody money and they call a meeting you don't attend? You say, you know what, because many of us don't want to put in the work. You just want to put in the money and leave others to do the work. Those people are not mumu, they are not stupid, right? So you leave them to do the work and you just want to come and show up. No, you want to understand what is going on. Without clear communication, you get in a partnership, you're going to drift apart. If things are going to change, can we sit down and have a meeting? So you need to normalize meetings and updates to say, this is the latest update. This is the way things are. Share is going down. We need to, I don't know how many of you invested in real estate, then you suddenly discover that the real estate company has become an agro company. It was, we had something like that. We invested in a company, way back in the land, real estate was what we invested in. No, it wasn't real estate, it was rice. Then all of a sudden, rice they went to buy land. They now say, okay, they can't pay us back. Can they give us land? Inside one push in the battle, right? And so that's what usually happens when partnership is not clearly defined. So you want to check the meetings, the updates, the communication channels. What is the communication line? How are we going to be communicating? Are we going to be talking about the updates? Are we going to have regular meetings and stuff like that? Number 3 principle is the principle of flexibility and adaptability. Now, what it says is that the ability to adapt to changing circumstances and to accommodate each other's growth is crucial for long-term success. This is where a lot of partners actually collapse, right? Lack of flexibility and adaptability, then coupled with communication, was what destroyed the relationship between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, in the Apple, right? And so you have seen that. I think Paul Allen and Bill Gates also had the same similar issue, right? Because things are going to change. We need to learn to adapt to changing circumstances and to accommodate each other's growth. Because if we're partners and I am putting value on myself, I am going for meetings, you are sitting down, you're not doing anything, right? I'm going for, after a while, I'm going to outgrow you. That's why even in marriage, there is what is called intellectual incompatibility. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership. Intellectual incompatibility is that one person is growing, the other person has stopped growing, so he's going to outgrow the other person. Partners are not supposed to outgrow each other because, again, remember where we started from, there has to be equal yoke in their beliefs, right? But someone's beliefs can grow higher, especially now AI is coming. Someone is embracing new technology, new skills, but someone is saying, I want to be seeing the money in the account. I want to be seeing the money in the account. Now there will be divergent worldview because there is no flexibility and adaptability. So partners actually implode when there is no adaptability or flexibility. And that is why you need to be proactive about trends, because trends keep changing, right? New technologies are springing up. AI tools are coming up, new things, new vistas of opportunities. One of the things I struggle to understand is the NFT, and now I understand it better. In the early days, I didn't understand it. Say, people will say, oh, come and buy a land in metaverse. This metaverse doesn't exist. It's just imagination, right? It's not a location. But they say you can buy 7 hectares of land in the metaverse and then you can build something there. It's almost like film trick. And a lot of people lost money in the early days to what they don't understand simply because it was a fashion, it was a fad, right? Now I understand it better, what they're trying to do, but they say it's tangible, but it's also intangible because you are going to have a paper, but you can't go and visit the land or possess the land or something like that. So what I concluded then was that until we understand this thing better, well, let us focus on even the land that we can see. People are still fighting you over it. How much more the one you can't see that they say is in somewhere, right? Who is the owner of this metaverse and things like that? Those were the questions I asked in the early days. But now, with more study, I understand it better. It's a very, very tricky thing, and that you need to do your study. So you want to be proactive about trend, but then don't just be quick, because many people lost money to crypto because they didn't understand it. So many fraudulent people just came up with several projects, and people lost millions of naira and millions of dollars. Now, so you need to be proactive about trend. You need to encourage feedback and be willing to pivot roles and strategies as the business evolves. Sometimes you need to diversify. Sometimes you need to pivot. If there is anything I've done consistently is to pivot. I know when the bend needs to happen, and I'm able to pivot into what is new and stuff like that without violating the core. So it is important for us to encourage feedback and be willing to pivot roles. So sometimes you would realize that maybe you started as a partner in this capacity, right? And then you have grown to a level where you can handle something higher. You might need to pivot roles, or you need to move into another emerging field that you need knowledge in that area, because it's going to be critical to the business you're running in the future. That is why we say that don't go to where the ball is, go to where the ball is going. And the most powerful strikers know that when they position where the ball is going, they can easily score the goal. And number 4 is mutual respect and trust. This principle says partners who don't give respect for each other's expertise and trust in their decision will implode from within. Partners who don't give respect for each other's expertise, one of the things partnership should bring is competence, confluence. What it means is bring what you have, bring what I have. I am visionary. Ayo has expertise in, administration. Dayton has expertise in networking. Godswill has expertise in maintaining standards and risk. Okpayemi has competence maybe in accounting. Someone bring everything together to the table. Let us build a monster that can serve us for the rest of our life. That was what those guys did at the Tower of Babel. They say, you know what? Come together. Let us build a tower that will reach to heaven. Heaven means the sky. And the first skyscraper was what they were actually trying to build, and make a name for ourselves. Of course, the Bible says, and God came and scattered their language for whatever reason. But one thing that was critical there is that these people is one. Nothing could be refrained from them which they had proposed to do. So partners must give respect to people's competence. I mean, it's not an ego trip. One of the things I hate, people do that to me. I hate to be at the forefront. I hate to be the person leading. We need to normalize that. Use people who understand what needs to be done and let them get the job done within the partnership framework, right? And so we need to understand that if we create a structure that enables the best of us, lead the rest of us based on expertise, we stand a better chance. Not that you see people who are competent, then you bring your son from nowhere and make your son leader over them. Your son doesn't understand leadership, because leadership is not sexually transmitted. The same way anointing is not sexually transmitted. That's why if you see many of the faith-based organizations, none of them has been able to, their children has been able to take it to the next level, simply because maybe there was someone within the system that God really wanted to take over, but they didn't picture the person, simply because someone has grown selfish in their mind. The goal is not let my blood take over. The goal must be let this thing continue and continue to grow to the next level and stand the test of time. That's why the Catholic system grew. That's why the Anglican system grew. We need to create a structure that enables what we have started to outlast us and grow beyond us and keep growing even when we're gone. We need to build that monster system where everyone comes together and bring their expertise to the table and build something that is incredible. And that takes me to the final principle of partnership, which is define roles and responsibilities. And that one says that the most effective partners intentionally create clear, acknowledged roles to prevent overlaps and confusion, right? And so people can come together in the early days and say, oh, let us do this thing together. Roles are not defined. But as they grow, somebody has got to be the CEO, someone has got to be the co-CEO or the deputy CEO, or, for example, I don't like CEOs. I don't like to be a CEO. I love to be in business development. I love to be, in research. I love to be in training. That's what I love to be. So I've always hired a CEO, kind of, right? Because CEO is not a founder. CEO is a role description with some specific skills, right? If you don't have those skills and you make yourself a CEO, you are just going to deceive. It's not by ID card. No, you need to know your limitation and you need to surround yourself with people who can take it to the next level. So you need to understand this principle. The most effective partners intentionally create clear, acknowledge roles to prevent overlap and confusion. So you see a lot of confusion. I know the next thing on, in the world right now is co-founders, co-partners, co-pastor, co-this, co-that. So you see confusion because then you see power tussle. Even for people who are co-pastors, husband and wife, you see the power tussle to grab the mic, to take decision. So husband takes this, wife takes another decision, and the people can see. In companies, oh, co-founder takes this person thinks this. Eventually, in fact, there's a startup that shut down. I can't remember their name. It's founded by Nigerians in the UK. It shut down after they have raised like I think $6 million or something. And what shut it down? Because of divergent, disagreement on roles and responsibility. This person feels like I should take the lead. That person feels like they say we are co-founders. We should both take the lead. Eventually, they created a crisis. People lost money, and the company went ground. Now, that's a company that could have been a unicorn, but because they violated this principle. So there needs to be a draft of clear agreement on roles and periodically adjust. For example, in House of Saviors, right? Even though I lead House of Saviors, I don't lead cooperative. I don't lead our investment. I defer to Dayton in there because, numbers is not my thing, right? I am visionary, but if I see numbers, people, we defer to God's will in there because that is their competence. So I'm just a floor member there. I don't attend meetings. I don't take decisions for them. I try to put them on their toes because the vision is clear what we're trying to achieve, but then I take no decision on their behalf. Why? Because my role is clearly defined, right? And so I don't overlap. Once you have delegated something, let the people who know it do it. There is no sense you want to bring in to begin to command the founder. And that's not what we're all about. What we're about is let us build something that can stand the test of time and that can live after us when we are gone. So define roles and responsibilities. Whatever partnership you're getting into, let your role be defined. What is my role? What is my responsibility? What are my duties? So you draft the agreement and periodically adjust. Let me say this finally, that we in House of Saviors, we have the redefinition of what it means for Africans to build wealth by Africans for Africa. As we create a future of partnership for prosperity and impact, that's what we're doing this year. We're starting this year. To say we have seen BlackRock. BlackRock just acquired something from Mr. Ogunlese in the UK. That's the owner of Gatwick, the man that they claim owned Gatwick. They just acquired all this whatever. And I just kept looking at that transaction. I'm like, this BlackRock is going to acquire the entire world someday. But some people started it. And so I'm asking, why can't we do the same? Right? Why can't we? So the Bible says, it's not good for a man to own the whole world and lose his soul. Now, you look at losing his soul. But owning the whole world is a possibility from that scripture, right? Because Jesus acknowledged that you can actually own the world. The only problem is that you may lose your soul. What if I don't lose my soul? What if I can eat my cake and have it? Structure solves that problem. So what if we can actually build a monster system that warehouses wealth for Africans and build wealth for Africans and create a future for Africans of prosperity? Because somebody has got to rise someday in a family and wipe out the tears and wipe out poverty from that family. It might be us, right? And so that is what we are doing. But there is a spirit in every African venture. It's called the spirit of the Ga. The spirit of the Ga is taken from the story we watched this morning, which is the story of Bashorun Ga. Bashorun Ga is a representation of the typical African leader, that they usually start well, but then as the wealth grows, because there is no structure, right? Because they put structure for everyone. So Bashorun Ga can sack all the kings, make the king commit suicide for his own selfish cause, right? And empower his own children. So you can see it's a spirit you see in African leadership. So it started with Bashorun Ga, right? He became powerful, established himself, then empowered his own children. So at the end of the day, meanwhile, the mission is, let us grow Oyo Empire to become an empire that rules the entire world. That was the mission. But the moment this guy became the Bashorun, which is the head prime minister, he started thinking for self. And that's why they did an Harvard review, and they said that when a lot of the Black people, when we make wealth, the next thing we think about is, let me make for my children. Then when we make for our children, then we think, let me make for my children's children. When we make for my children's children, let me make for my children's children's children, my generation. That is how many of us think. They said, but the average European or the average Caucasian, when they make wealth, they first think of their village, their city, their town, their country, the continent, and the rest of the world. That is why you see that Bill Gates can be funding vaccines in Nigeria. Bill Gates literally stopped polio, funded polio eradication in Nigeria, and now is funding malaria eradication in Africa. Question is, which African is funding something in America? I mean, my friend Shubomi Plumter did an analysis. Even when it comes to election, funding election in America, she realized that the group that has the highest donation towards election is the Jews. And so we were trying to explain it to say, why is America so fixated about Jews? So we saw it, and I said, oh, no wonder that, oh, right. So Jews fund many of this election. So America has to do their bidding, because if they pull out their fund or they pull away their competence, America may struggle, right? And then the next group that has the largest donation after the Jews are the Indians, right? Then the different groups like that, the group that has the lowest donation is the black Americans. Now, African immigrant has 0 donation. So you can see this, that the spirit of Bashorunga is accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. Let me start a company or as a real estate company, or let me start this thing, and then the money start rolling in. I think of my children. How will my children succeed me? How will my wife succeed me? How will I begin? The moment you begin to think about that, you kill what can go global, right? Because you are thinking for self. My wife, my children, the wealth must remain in the family. That is the spirit of God. At whatever level, you see it in corporate Nigeria, corporate Africa, you see it in leadership, in politics, you see it in religion, right? Because it's all about my family. It's not about us. It's not about let the best of us lead the rest of us. And that is one spirit you need to kill. Because you need to look into the future and say, what can we build? What can stand the test of time? How can we build wealth? Because this wealth will eventually come to your children if you build within a group. Because what is yours within the group falls back on your children. But can we put a system that is not biased in place that can stand the test of time? So we must rise as a redefinition of what it means for Africans to build wealth by Africans for Africa as we create a future of partnership for prosperity and impact. Bashorunga single-handedly destroyed the Oyo Empire. One man, by his greed, crushed an empire that was a glorious empire, and that empire till date has not regained the old glory. So where we started from is horsepower versus horsepower. So the question I'm going to leave you with today is, do you want to go far? Do we want to go far? Because when it comes to far, it's about us. Or do you want to go fast? You can drop your answer in the comment box, but it's a question that I'm going to leave you with. Whatever your answer is will determine whether you normalize partnerships or you still go solo. Do we want to go far, or do you want to go fast? But those who go fast at the top speed, you know the propensity they have, accident is inevitable, because they are speeding without control, right? And they're speeding in a direction that they don't understand. They can swindle them easily. But if you build wealth little by little, that's why in the first 20 years of Microsoft, you did not see Bill Gates giving out charity, but he built his wealth. They called him selfish in the early days. Built his wealth to a level that when he started giving, he could give sustainably. So I believe that we're in for a great time. We're in for a great year, and we're going to have a fantastic year ahead. So go and listen to this over and over again, and I believe we're going to have a great time, with the principles of partnerships. It's going to be a year of partnerships for prosperity and impact. So I'm going to see you next week by God's grace. Okay. By the way,